So this is a brand new tire and I already cupped this edge pretty darn good. So I'm gonna tell you how to ruin a brand new tire. Hello everybody, coming at you with all my might. It is Smite. How you guys doing today? So if you've been following, you'll know that I put a lot of parts recently on this bike. Basically, I threw everything on at the same time. So I did an auto clutch, power commander, and I piped it all like with the same day. See, I just locked the back tire up in second gear and we did nothing besides skid. So I did everything in the same day. So I didn't work out any of the problems. To attempt to find any of the problems. I hooked everything up. I went for miles upon miles on ride, you know, working out the kinks in auto tune, what I thought was. And I heard, that doesn't mean it was true, that there was a hit with the Rekluse clutch. Like I don't know where I came up with this idea that this happened. So my bike was bogging down, and I'll throw a clip in it. So basically, when I really got on the gas, it would just shut the bike down for like a split second, and I thought it was that clutch expanding. So I dealt with it for a while, then I took a step back, and I haven't rode for like a good 2 weeks on this bike. When I came back to the bike, I decided, you know, I bought a switch so I could switch the map, so I had a fuel economy. I changed the fuel map to promote, you know, fuel economy and stuff like that, which had a leaner air-fuel ratio. And when I did that, everything changed a little bit. I was noticing that the hit wasn't as less. So I'm like, you know what? I think it's because it's not accelerating as hard that the clutch isn't flying out. So that was my theory. Well, I went home and I called Rekluse and asked him, I said, hey, when is the clutch fully engaged? And he's like, 2500, the thing's all the way spinning. And I'm like, shoot, that means there's a fueling issue with my bike. I took out and then I accepted the trims again on this new fuel map that was supposed to be leaner, and for some reason it wanted more fuel everywhere. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll try it. And I accepted the trim, but then didn't ride it. Well, we jumped on the bike, me and my wife, to go test it out, and I also was sitting there thinking, I'm like, you know, I had in my mind pumper carb. So I was like, okay, so when my bike did that, it wasn't getting enough fuel, so it had a pumper carb shooting in there. But of course, that was a single cylinder, you know, 400cc. So I went in there and I set it to, when I opened the throttle 20%, that it would spray more fuel in, you know, like 10% more fuel. And I'm like, okay, that's good. But my previous adjustment had like 40 at 4 grand. Well, as soon as I got to 4 grand, the bike was just stuttering and wouldn't even move until I got past that. I'm like, shoot, something is definitely wrong. So at that point, I pretty much, you know, I was like, you know, I have auto tune for a reason. I have auto tune, so I didn't have to figure this out, and it should be getting the proper fueling all the time. So I went home and I called my dad, and I'm like, I was just fed up at this point, because, you know, I spent all this money on these parts and they're not working, nothing, you know, why would I have a huge hit and then not accelerate? You know, what's the point of riding a bike that you can't crack the throttle on? So I was talking to him and he's like, well, don't you see the air fuel ratio? And I'm like, no, because I don't have the laptop hooked up. And he's like, well, you just need to see what it's doing. So I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'll do. I'll look and see what the air fuel ratio is. And then I was sitting there thinking, I was like, you know what, their program, it's called Excel Pump, and if I move the throttle in an increment of 20%, I can have it add or move, and you can adjust it to less or more throttle, like 50%, or as long as it moves 20%, and it could be 20 from 40 to 60 or 60 to 80, doesn't matter. I changed it to remove fueling. So sitting there, I could do both add or remove fueling. So I'm like, hey, why don't I see if I can remove fueling? First I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see how much I'm getting when I crack the throttle. So I hooked the laptop up. I get the bike warmed up and I am going, and I had my air fuel ratio probably a little too rich. It was like 12.2, and when I cracked the throttle, it dropped to like 8. So it was so rich that it was just killing the bike. And I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. Why did I think of that? So I pulled up the program and I did minus 10% fuel. I did that and it went to like 9.9. I'm like, all right. So I dropped it to 15%, so it would remove 15% fuel when I actuated the throttle that hard. I did that and it dropped to like 11. I'm like, okay, I can work with this. I'm gonna go take it out. So I took it out, I turned traction control off, and then I'm going and I'm just cracking on it and cracking on it. And it's just taking off. There's no dead zone, there's no nothing. And I'm like, shoot, this is awesome. So I'm getting in first gear, I'm cracking on it. You know, and of course I took traction control off because I don't want intervening. Well, that is where I started to mess up. As soon as I took traction control off, I'm out there on a pretty much, you know, 80% dirt tire with very minimal road traction compared to a street tire. Well, this is an 800cc that I just tuned that it can actually, you know, take off and go. You know, more aggressively and higher RPMs, but so I'm doing that, and I was doing some wheelies, but I didn't think of it at the time. I was spinning the tire the whole entire time. Oh, there's some dirt. Hello. The whole entire time I'm out there ripping around, and I did it for like 10 minutes, and I'm just out, you know, just non-stop giving it gas, whap, 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 and then I'm doing all kinds of wheelies and stuff like that, and I'm laughing to myself, and then I get back and look, and I shredded my tire. I'm like, oh, this is a brand new $180 tire that I just went out and was shredding on the pavement for no good reason. I'm like, oh, that's all you have to do on this too, and sure enough, that is all I had to do. Now granted, see, I'm fine, but see, I dump it and it stuttered a little bit right there. I'm fine with spinning the tires off on dirt, but it went from, you know, and it's still a little bit rich. I need to turn it down a little bit, but man, it's a world of a difference. Well, long story short, I was stupid and shredded my tire on the pavement over incorrect fueling, and then I got excited. But I have a ride at the beginning of next month, so my tires still should have plenty of tread for that ride. I just want to make sure I have enough for that ride, then I won't worry so much. So anyhow, if you enjoyed the story, smash that like button. Don't forget to share the video. Help me grow. The more people that watch my videos, the more resources I will have to get more parts and better quality content for you guys. I'm loving that LED headlight. But anyhow, thank you for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and God bless.